What's mental health?
He asks all the questions everybody wants to know.
It basically includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being.
You're driving me half out of my mind, you crazy old coat.
It affects how we think, feel, and act.
Oh my God.
Not just that, mental health helps to determine how we handle stress, and other things as humans. The Mind Clinic, a platform where people can talk about issues directly or indirectly on mental health.
A very good morning to you. It's a Wednesday in the FCT, the 10th day in the month of June 2020, and it's time to bring you a very special program, and this program is solely about mental health. We call it the Mind Clinic. It's proudly brought to you by Neem Foundation. I'm Victor Pepple, and of course I've got Chinyere Goldensi on the show. Good morning, Chinyere.
Good morning, Victor. Morning, listeners.
Good morning to you. And on the show today, we're going to be talking about suicide prevention. I mean, we started that last week, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're going to look solely at how to start the conversation around the term suicide. And our guest on the show this morning is the Director, World Federation for Mental Health, the founder, TDF Integrated Services, and lead the Mind and Health community. He's also an author of the book Beyond Blue. Our guest on the show this morning is Mr. Tolushe Francis. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right then. Cheers.
Yeah. Yes. So I think, part of the reason we're having this conversation is that a lot of the times people may be having suicidal thoughts and they don't know who to speak to or how to speak to somebody. And, it's common conversation that, you don't talk about this or you don't talk about this, and because they believe that if you talk about it, it will lead the person to go and to commit the act of suicide or to go and take their life. However, we know that when people talk about it, it does help them relieve whatever is causing them to feel the way they feel, and it does help them gain some perspective and feel supported. So I think it's very important that we're having this conversation. So, Mr. Tolushe, I'm going to start off with a couple of questions, with one question, and then just take it from there as we go along. In the conversation around suicide, for a person who is suicidal, what do you think the best approach to starting this conversation would be? How can an individual who is suicidal start the conversation?
All right. So the interesting thing is, for a suicidal person, he or she doesn't really want to die. That's one thing we need to get to know. Most times, people think people who are suicidal see as a means to an end, but if they have an alternative, they wouldn't want to. And that's why sometimes you find them dropping notes. They cry for help. And so when people were suicidal, the best way to go about it is, even though there is a fear that people won't take, how do I put it now, people won't take them serious sometimes. And that's why I find some of them come on social media, right, to put it out there, to say, hey guys, this is the end of the road. I think I've tried my best. So talking to people is still the very best option, right, for anyone. However, social media seems to help, right, because people pick it up, organizations step in, all right, to as much as possible help through, right, because for some people they are alone and there is nobody around them that they can talk to, or they don't even want to put themselves in the hands of anybody who will take advantage of them or even trigger them. So some mix of social media and then there's an intervention and all. But aside that, I believe that you can always talk to someone. If you live with someone, you can talk to that person. If you are in a school, let's say you're a student, for example, you can find an adult, within the school, if it's a young person, to talk to. If there is a school clinic, you can walk to the clinic. If there's a health center close by, you can walk where there's nobody that you trust that you can talk to, because the suicidal thought is a heavy burden on the mind of that person, and it just means that person has a lot going on in his own mind and feels that there's a heavy weight for him and has concluded that there is no way out. But the truth of the matter is that person still desires that somebody would listen to him or her. So you need to take the courage. It's tough, right? But you need to take the courage to find someone who won't take it for granted to talk to. And that's why I suggested if you live alone, you can make a call to a good friend of yours. If you live with your parents, you can talk to them. They don't take you serious. You can call a friend. If you're in a school, you can walk to the school clinic or talk to a teacher or lecturer who you know has some sense of disability. And I'm very serious about that. Not just anybody that you can talk to. Otherwise, you can make a call and start some organizations on social media, especially Twitter, and you can be rescued. I mean, I know organizations have done a lot of rescue mission a lot of times, and for those who offer free counseling, So I think the key thing, starting a conversation, is just talk about it, just say how you feel about it. Don't sugarcoat it. Say exactly how you feel.
Okay. So it also boils down to speaking to somebody who you trust and somebody who going to be able to support you in that time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for that. One of the biggest challenges that people can face when they're suicidal is speaking to the people closest to them. And for most of us, family is the one, so we have family closest to us. You talked about making sure that we speak to people that are not going to make a mockery of us. And of course, not everybody understands how to go about or how to have this conversation or to even speak to a loved one if they are experiencing suicide. So how can a family member start the conversation with a loved one who they see could be exhibiting some suicidal ideations or talking about it? And because in some situations we know that people do leave signs, people do they begin to talk about it. There's some symptoms that you can look out for. So if my family member, for example, is experiencing or is speaking about suicidal ideation or seems like they're having suicidal thoughts, how do I go about starting that conversation?
So I would say that everyone needs to learn the cues to suicide. Everyone needs to understand and pay attention to what are some cues that people give when they're suicidal. This would help us a lot. And some of these cues to show up in behaviors, in the way they talk, the things they say, and all that. But as family members, I'm going to share about 3 to 4 tips of how you can start this conversation. One is you can start by expressing concerns about specific things. For example, you notice that the person doesn't look happy as they used to before. You could also notice that the person doesn't go out to hang out with friends like they used to before. So you can ask questions like, I noticed you've not been going out of late. Is anything the problem? Are you okay? I noticed you stay in your room all day long. That's so unlike you. Are you sure there is something that you don't want us to know? So you can pick specific things that the person is under do that person is looking for. For example, when I went to depression, I became a very indoor person. I stopped going out. I stopped hanging out with people, But again, people thought I was growing up. Nobody actually thought about it that something had changed about this guy. And the truth of the matter is there is always a trigger for suicidal thought or suicidalization. Something has happened before, and then there's probably a trigger for it to consider. Another one is you want to ask questions like, are you thinking of hurting yourself? Now, this person might be direct, but you see, they need to be direct, right? You cannot sugarcoat because suicide we're talking about here. Yeah. You cannot sugarcoat the question. So you might ask questions like, are you thinking of hurting yourself? Because a larger percentage of people who are dating suicide start by self-harming. Right? They start by self-harming, they're cutting themselves and all that, and they feel that pain. So you may ask such questions. And you can also express your extreme concerns by saying, do you have thought of living off? Are you planning to live off? Are you planning to end it all? That way you jolt the person to let the person know that, look, we care about you. So don't just say all those things. You need to also affirm your I'm thinking what the right word. You need to affirm your love for the person. Let the person understand that you love them. And so you can say things like, how can we be of help? We love you. Your parents love you. Your siblings love you. No matter what it is, let us know how can we help you. What would you want us to do for you? If there's something we are doing that is causing a trigger or that is a trigger to these thoughts of yours, all right, and the person says that there is nothing like that, they are not thinking about that, let them know, right, that you are there for them. Let them know that they can trust you. Let them know that you are available, and whatever it is that they want to talk about, it's a no judgment zone for them. But if they agree that there is something going on with them, then encourage them to seek help. In fact, you can agree to go with them or let them talk to someone. Many years ago when I was in secondary school, I had a senior who was very suicidal. He had an elder brother in the school, and I told the elder brother, who didn't believe, so I had to place my eyes on the senior. I tried to move my bed close to him. So sometimes in the night when I noticed he's out of the hostel, right, I would get out of the hostel and then walk towards where I'd seen him the last time. On a number of occasions, I met him trying to lie on a cutlass, and all that. And so I had to start doing that until he was able to own up, and then I encouraged him to, talk to the nurse, and then he went. And today he's happily married, with his own daughter, and all that. So I have to go there, and that wasn't a family member. That was just a senior, that I just look, and that was even at secondary school. So there is no age in which you cannot be of help to someone who is suicidal. They just want to know that someone is still willing to listen to them, someone takes care about them. Like I said earlier, the truth is nobody really wants to die. It's just a heavy burden that they are carrying.
I mean, something you said actually quite struck me, and that's confidentiality. We know that when people are suicidal, it's quite a serious thing that they're going through, and that in that situation we can't promise confidentiality. So, for example, the case of the senior, where you had to actually tell someone who was older and in a position to take control and to take charge of the situation. Can you touch a bit about confidentiality? Because sometimes we feel like, yes, I need to keep it to myself. I shouldn't tell anybody. Can you please touch on it a little bit and talk about confidentiality and why it's important that when someone speaks to you, that you take it up to, a higher power or someone in a better position to help the person?
So the thing about confidentiality, especially in this kind of work around, is when it comes to suicide, shadow end up come to that point where it's very imminent, right? The person has probably attempted before. There is nothing about confidentiality. You just have to go. So let me explain. When I say there's nothing about confidentiality, it doesn't mean that you go on social that you put that this person is suicidal. No. When you talk about confidentiality, lack of confidentiality in a situation, it doesn't mean that you call your group of friends and start teaching them that these are our friends, suicidal, blah, 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 and all that. Absolutely not that. What that means is you do not keep it to yourself alone, because the goal is to see that this person gets help. So let's take this point. I'm in Lagos, and I have a friend in Abuja who is suicidal. I am not in Abuja, right? But I have a friend who stays in Abuja, and that I know is a responsible fellow. I can call him and say, hey bro, I have someone in Abuja that I need to check on. He has this, he has this, he has that. Please check on him and speak with that. Now that way, I am not proclaiming. I am not announcing. I am telling a person. And so he goes to check, right? And then he gets back and like, look, this thing is gangster, this thing is serious. This guy needs to, and like, okay, fine, you know what? Move this person or get this person help. I call a professional. I say, please, let me check on this person and all that. Now, what I have done is I have built a network of helpers. Yeah. Because that guy knows that for me to have sent someone to him, he can always call on that person again because of the relationship. And some people have even built friendship from there. So confidentiality when it comes to suicide ideation is not something that you hold tightly, because the goal is to rescue a life. And I tell you that for every life that you're able to save from dying, you have actually saved a generation. Because I have sown a seed in the heart of that person. And so when it comes to suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts, I don't see confidentiality, right? But it also doesn't mean that you proclaim to the entire world, and doesn't mean that you tell a group of people. The goal of everyone who is intervening, right, in suicide matters is to see that the person gets help and build a network of people who care about him or her. So it's not like a person who is going through depression or anxiety or so it's not like when you come to professional, you tell professional what the situation is or what your health condition is, and the person starts using it as a teaching aid. So confidentiality there is that, look, this thing is not going to the entire world, right? But we need to get you help, and because we want to get you help, we have to get people involved to get you into that space where you can receive help. Once that person gets to that space where they can receive help, there is no more need for you to engage anyone in any conversation.
That's a good point you raised. That's a good point. And I think also a lot of us sometimes go around thinking that we're helping them by telling them, oh, don't worry, I won't tell anybody. Whereas we're lying to them. So even part of confidentiality is also about letting them know that I would have to speak to maybe your family, I'd have to speak to the doctor, somebody that would be able to ensure that they receive support so that they don't feel like you're going behind their back because it's after you promise not to not to say anything. So it's important that you do let the person know how serious this is and the fact that you are going to speak to somebody who will offer help, who is there to protect them so that they're very much aware of it.
I agree.
Yeah. Is there really a difference in the way friends can support? I know you've touched on a bit about family. Is there really a difference when it comes to friends, or is the support the same way? So how would a friend support another friend?
So the key thing that any friend who wants to support a friend with suicidal should put in mind is to avoid being judgmental or dismissive of what your friend is feeling.
Yeah.
You must, as much as possible, even if that person has offended you before, right, you must, as much as possible, try not to be judgmental and try not to be dismissive. When if you want to take your pound of flesh, not at that point in time. Speak from your heart as a friend. If the thing is, people can sense if you are genuine or not. So at that point, speak from your heart. Be genuine about the things that you are saying to that your friend. Don't just say things because you want to sound woke. No. Don't just say things because you want to sound like you're intelligent. That point, right, be real. Okay, if you're with them physically, you can hold them while they cry. And any other thing you can do. I mean, research has even shown that acknowledging what people are experiencing may help them process their thoughts and reduce their suicidal thoughts. So let them know that you can imagine. You don't understand because you're not there, but you can imagine what they're going through, right? And you're just there to support them. Listen to them, right? Let them talk. Don't preach. Don't be motivational, right? Just listen to them. Let them unburden. Let them clutter whatever it is that they are going through. Just listen to them and validate and show openness, right? Validate what they are saying. Be sympathetic. Be patient with them. Be calm with them. Accept what they are going through. All right. They will pick up your attitude and then they begin to mirror it for themselves. Okay. If as they're talking, you are interjecting, you are not being open to them, right? You are not giving them enough room to express themselves. So validate them and then show openness. And then sometimes in the course of the conversation, you can confirm their thoughts, right? So you can ask questions like, are you having thoughts of suicide? Because thoughts have shown that asking your friends or family members who are at risk of committing suicide does not increase suicidal thoughts. It allows them to understand, okay, I'm not alone, all right? And then you're not putting ideas in their head by asking, all right? In fact, your asking will give you valuable information about how to proceed with help. So there are 3 key questions that you should quickly ask for you to get the facts when you are with people like that. The number one of them is to ask questions like, have you thought about how to do it?
Yeah.
Have you thought about how to do it? Do you have what you need to carry out your plan? And the other is, do you know when you want to do it? Now, these are questions that will let you know how imminent this person is, or how close this person is to taking this action, right? So if the answer is yes to any of these three questions, you know that it's not about talking to that person anymore. It's about getting professional help straight up. All right. Yeah. And in fact, the fortunate thing is a lot of times you might get a no response, right? Or they will say that they don't have a definite plan as regards to these people buy things, pesticides, herbicides that they want to use and all that. But the truth is, some of them don't even know how they want to do it or when they want to do it. So their words, they are speaking to you, is a call for help. They are speaking to you is a plea that, hey, save me, I am drowning, help me get out of this. All right, so this answer, the answer to those questions can lead you, right, to know if you're in immediate danger and then take the necessary steps that you can take. If you're not a professional, you know that you need to get a professional help. But even if you're a professional, all you can do is give them first aid, right, and then have them have another professional hand, because ethically, you're not supposed to attend to it, right, because it's too emotional to actually attend to such a person. And so you need to refer the person to another colleague of yours while you stay. But those are some things that you can do as a friend. And I would just like to reiterate them again.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as possible, let them know that you are there for them. Speak from your heart, show support, listen to them, validate and show openness, try to confirm the suicidal thoughts, keep them talking. Talking allows them to reduce the emotional burden. Like I said, as they are talking, they are unburdening, they are decluttering. So keep them talking. Don't try to solve the problem. That's one major challenge that we face. Don't try to solve the problem. Because you're not a professional, you start giving them either religious quotes or motivational quotes and all. No, what they want are things that are practical that they can make use of. Not someone to just motivate them, all right? But if you see that this is beyond hand, then you need to take them to speak so that they can call it professional. But I would just like to add something finally, and that's the person who is trying to intervene in this case needs to also take care of himself or herself. So you need to take care of yourself. Who is intervening here, because dealing with a suicidal threat or a suicide threat can be stressful. It's hard work, right? It's hard work trying to get someone to talk. It's hard work taking in what the person is saying, because it's like a transfer of energy, right? Yeah. It's easy to thought that energy can never be destroyed or created. It's a transfer from one. But taking in the energy that person is letting out, and if care is not taken, you yourself might be so overburdened, right, that it might even lead to something else. It's not that your friend is suicidal enough to throw you into another state of mind. Right, that's possible. Even you need to seek help.
Yeah.
And take care of yourself.
The family or the friends.
All right. All right. So we do encourage that when you hear conversations on this station and you ask questions bordering on the discussion, you can send any question to us on our WhatsApp portal, and we're throwing the phone lines open if you have questions as well, because we're wrapping up the conversation in just a moment. Talisha, I understand you're a professional when it comes to, the issues of mental health and suicide prevention and all that. But we also realize in trying to talk to some persons who, are depressed, there's some persons who naturally they lack normal empathy. All right, they don't even show ability to, the ability to feel what others are feeling. You get me? Or when something has gone wrong, they don't even know the right words to use. Sometimes you hear, because we're Africans, they'll tell you, come off it. How can you be a man and you are saying you are depressed and you're contemplating suicide? Just come off it. And then you hear some others tell you, something like, it's not Christian-like. And we begin to bring religion into it. It's not in our family as well. You hear different excuses people make, trying to tell you, cheer up. Again, why I had to talk about empathy, all right? Because I know that there's some people who are very less empathetic. If we have to look at the three kinds of empathy, which is emotional, cognitive, and compassionate, you would understand that for some persons, right, they had studied it in school and then they have different ways of getting you out of a particular mood. But for some others, they try to be funny. right? They're trying to crack a joke or try to, say, I'm trying to make you laugh. I'm trying to make you happy, and you are still crying. You're still sad. What is wrong with you? Now, these are people who have not really understood. You get my point? Yes. So what I'm trying to say in essence is, one, there are people who believe that as a Christian or by religion, you're not supposed to be depressed or you're not supposed to contemplate suicide. That's one. There are some who try to make joke out of the situation in their head. They're trying to make you laugh, make you happy, or make you snap out of the current state that you are. What advice would you give out to these persons? Seemingly, yes, they're not professionals, but they're trying to help. They're doing it the wrong way.
Thank you. This is a very important question, because we see this happen a number of times, and usually I tell people, don't be in a rush to talk. The best you can do is just listen to what this person has to say, and then if you know that you don't know anything at all, right, to say, then quickly reach out to people who know what to say. But you see, the truth of the matter is, and I keep saying it, that we are in a generation, or in a time where everybody needs to learn basic skills, right, for suicide prevention. And basic skills is learn what to say and what not to say. When people come up with the religious, especially those of the Christian folks, because I don't know so much about Islam and others. When people come up with the religious language of as a Christian, you're not supposed to be depressed, you're not supposed to suicide out, I like to take them back to the fact that the Jesus that they talk about came in human form. And if they read their Bible, rather than say that they are Christians, then they will realize that what happened to him on his journey to the cross in the garden, when, the Bible that they read says that his sweat was like a drop of blood. He was weary, and the way he prayed, and you realize that Jesus also found himself at that point where he was fearful, he was afraid that this is about to happen to me. Right, and so you can see that on a state of emotional turmoil. Now, my point basically is, you don't need to bring your faith into that point in time. This person knows the faith, right? This person knows the faith, but he's seeking help. And also, your faith doesn't stop you from seeking professional help. People need to get that clearly. That your faith doesn't stop you from seeking professional help. The people that you claim to follow, I'm not sure that there was ever a time in their life that those that they are worshipping did not seek help. So it's important that people understand that if I'm not able to see anything, if I don't know what to say, the best I can do is listen. Listen to what this person has to say. If I'm able to help the person, just help this fellow and stay with them while you help them get professional help. But if you can't, then please go learn suicide prevention techniques, especially knowing what to say and what not to say when the professional comes on board. Because I agree with you, Victor, that some people are just doesn't know how to emphasize with other persons, right? And then people also need to understand that sympathy is not the same as empathy. What people do a lot of times, they try to show sympathy. No. But someone needs is empathy. Just show that you are with them and that you can imagine what they are going through. You're trying to understand what they are going through. But hey, please, if you don't know what to say, just listen. That is enough. That's enough help. Listening to them is enough help. And then try to get a professional to help them.
All right, then. We've got a message from Austin in Lugbe, and Austin says about the ban of insecticide by NAFDAC. Is that a way of stopping depression or suicide?
Okay, I think I get this question. So you know that sometime, I can't remember if it was last year, there was a campaign on the ban of sniper. That was the
Yes.
Now the thing is, sniper is not the only tool, or insecticide or pesticide or herbicide are not the only tools that people find useful to take their own life. It was becoming rampant then. And also because of the way it was being put in the media out there. So it's not the only tool, but that was to curb the purchase of it, because these things were not made for humans, right? They were made for hair, pests, and insects, and not for human. And because you have different digestive systems, so they become corrosive to the system. So it was the government way, and it's not only in Nigeria. There are countries abroad where you cannot just walk to any store to purchase this pesticide or herbicide right? But because we live in a country where there are insects, you have mosquitoes, you have different kinds and all that. But the truth is, it was just a way to try to curb the use and the availability of these pesticides. It's not the only means that people use, but that was the way government needed to contribute to this, because these things were sold in open market, right, and at very cheap rates for that matter, which made it very easy, right, for people to go out and purchase. So just government contribution after the campaign that needs to be enforced, so as to reduce the state at which people were using these things, right, to actually end their lives. So yes, it's a way to curb depression, not a way to curb suicide, rather, not a way to prevent depression, but to prevent suicide because of the nature of those things.
I would like to add to what Toluche said. Part of suicide prevention, methods and the things that they try to preach, push is removing of tools and things like insecticide that people have access to that could lead to that people could use to commit suicide. So if you have guns in the house, if you have a knife, if you have that somebody could probably use, and you have a suicidal person in the house, part of suicide prevention is that you are advised to take those things away from you. So that you're also able to help the person. You're also able to help the person. So, yeah, it's definitely one of the suicide prevention strategies. But it's not. We were not saying that once you do that, the person will be fine. It's just one of the different things that you can do to prevent suicide.
All right, we'll try to take a few other messages, maybe 2 or 3 before we wrap up the conversation this morning. Job in Karu says, "Is depression hereditary?"
I get this question a lot, and this might not be the show to say that, but there's clinical depression, right? So you have depression in different folds, right? And hereditary is a clinical, possibly, but again, it doesn't mean that because one person in your family has had it before, it means that you would not have it. You don't even cover the generations after, right? And also you need to understand that there is also a spectrum for this thing, right? There is a spectrum for this thing. So it's not the one facet, it's not the one way thing. The reason why I most times don't like to answer this question because it creates room for people to start checking themselves. Oh, okay, maybe this is why I'm behaving like this. Maybe this is why I'm behaving like this. I heard that my grandfather had depression. Oh, is it going to happen to me too? And then people start living in fear, right? So when these questions come in, what I tell people is to think that you are experiencing depressive symptoms, you're checking for help. But that because you have someone in your family who was depressed, then it means you are depressed. Because science is all about research. Research is going on and on and on and on. So whatever they tell you is true today, tomorrow another researcher might come out and say, in the line of my work, I realized this, and it is accepted globally. So don't try to look at whether depression is hereditary. If you have depressive symptoms, which is different from depression, you might have the symptoms. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are depressed. But if you think that you have those symptoms, then just checking for help.
All right, let's see if we can take a few calls, then we wrap up because of our time. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. Tell us your name and location, please.
My name is Senchi from Niaya.
Go ahead with your question or contribution.
My contribution is that actually your guest out there, he really talked about, when you are going through depression and all of that, people come to tell you that they try to preach, quote from the Bible to you. I have been through depression and also contemplated suicide before. So what people come to tell me that I know it's not easy and all of that, but when they say that to me, it doesn't make any sense to me. But Even like my own mother in the house here, whenever I go, I'm down, she always try to talk to me as if she's quarreling me. And it doesn't help me. Even right now, sometimes I go through those things. The main point is that I am actually, sometimes I feel this depression. I don't know what to do about it. And how can I really come out from depression?
All right. So you'd listen in towards the tail end of the program. We'll give you a number to call. But just listen in for our guest to attempt that one. I need to tie this quickly to another question because we're pressed for time. All right? So there's no name attached to this. On WhatsApp says, is hallucination a mental disorder?
So it's a symptom.
Okay.
This on its own is not a mental disorder. It's a symptom of a mental disorder.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then about the last caller.
So I didn't get the question of the last caller. I heard what it was, but I didn't get the question.
He's asking for help. He said he's been at a point where he was contemplating suicide and he didn't get the necessary support from family. You know, his mom was always yelling at him and shouting at him to snap out of it and, you know, and all those things that happen typically in African homes.
Okay, so I heard you think that you're giving some numbers to call at the end of the show. So
yes.
You might just make it of that. But let me also ask what Chinny said. Hallucination is not a mental disorder, it's a symptom. And it's important to understand that there are mental disorders, there are mental illness, and then there are mental health issues, right? So hallucination is a symptom, right, that can, go away after a while. The symptom of something. It's not the same way having a headache and fever can be a symptom to so many things. It's not the illness in itself. At the end of the after the appropriate test, they might tell you it's malaria, they might tell you it's typhoid. Even now in the COVID season that we are, it might be a symptom towards COVID, right? So it's just a symptom, not the mental disorder.
All right. We need to give out the numbers and emails now because of our time. We'll continue the conversation next week.
Yeah. All right. So the number to call for mental health support, for psychological support if you're experiencing any mental health challenge or if you're experiencing a suicidal ideation is 0706 062 5054. The number again is 0706 062 5054. Okay.
All right, then we must thank you very much for being a part of the show. Our guest this morning, of course, our guest on the show has been Tolushe Francis, Director, World Federation of Mental Health, founder TDF Integrated Services, and he's the team lead at the Mind and Health Community. He's also an author of the book Beyond Blue. We must thank you very much for being a part of the show today.
No.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.